Once upon a time, long before critical hits and arcana checks, there was only war. Not Warhammer, that's a different story. I'm talking about the war games that gave rise to Dungeons & Dragons as we now know it. What started as a competitive battle for supremacy, where players sought to become the most powerful lord with forts and armies, has transformed into a cooperative storytelling experience. It's a shift as dramatic as any campaign finale, so today we are going to dive deep into the evolution of plot in D&D. From its wargame roots to the cinematic adventures we now know and love. Roll for history. Our journey begins with wargames in the 60s and 70s. I don't want to stick too long here, because it's not really our main point. What you should know about wargames is that they weren't about personal heroes or grand narratives. Instead, they were generally competitive war simulations where players vied for dominance. Then came Chainmail, created by Gary Gygax and Jeff Perrin, a supplement to wargames that were popular at the time. But nestled within Chainmail's pages was something unexpected. Rules for fantasy battles, pulling from Tolkien-esque dwarves, elves, and spells. Suddenly, you could pit wizards, dragons, and heroes against each other. This small addition sparked a new kind of gameplay, one that focused on an individual's narrative, rather than grand-scale battles and strategy. Then in 1974, Dungeons & Dragons arrived. Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson took the competitive wargame structure and flipped it on its head. Now players controlled individual characters. Instead of fighting against each other, they collaborated. They worked together to face a common enemy. Now, the early games weren't about in-depth plot or deep character development. The plot was mostly just delving into a dungeon, fighting monsters, gaining treasure, and escaping alive. The DM in that instance was more a referee than a storyteller, just kind of making sure that the rules were followed and then engaging the players with the next enemy. Still, this was a revolution. Players were no longer rivals, they were allies. And that collaboration is what has laid the groundwork for storytelling to flourish. As D&D gained popularity in the 70s and 80s, the game really started to embrace storytelling in a big way. Enter the adventure module, pre-written scenarios that gave players clear objective and a taste for narrative. Modules like the Keep on the Borderlands introduced moral dilemmas and more complex NPCs. Tomb of Horrors tested players' wits and courage. And then there was the Dragonlance Adventures, a campaign that brought sprawling, epic storytelling to the forefront. For the first time, D&D campaigns weren't just about survival or loot. They were about uncovering mysteries, forming alliances, playing a role in a larger unfolding story. The seeds of collaborative storytelling were growing into something very special. Hey guys, if you are enjoying this video and you want to see more like it, go ahead and make sure you like, subscribe, hit that alerts button so you don't miss any of my videos. And let's keep telling stories together. Back to the video. Through its many iterations, 1st edition, 2nd edition, 3rd edition, 3.5, 4E, and now 5E, the storytelling aspect, as opposed to the crunch and the numbers and the dice rolling, has kind of waxed and waned, depending on the edition you played. Today, D&D has embraced its role as a storytelling game. With the release of 5th edition, the rules have been streamlined to make role-playing and narrative moments shine. Modern campaigns like Curse of Strahd, The Wild Beyond the Witchlight, and more immerse players in rich worlds full of drama, intrigue, and character growth. And within this storytelling medium of the 5th edition, the time was just right for the rise of actual plays. Shows like Critical Role and Dimension 20. These games are a masterclass in collaborative storytelling, blending improvisation with the tension of a dice roll. For many, D&D is no longer just a game. It's a shared experience, one that's cinematic as any TV show or movie. Conflict isn't just about winning or losing anymore. It's about creating memorable moments, building relationships, and telling stories that stick with you long after the dice are packed away. So what's next for D&D? Obviously, with the release of the 2024-2025 5.5e Player's Handbook, Dungeon Master's Guide, and Monster Manual, there are plenty of stories still to be told. We're going to see even more innovation with virtual tools and immersive tech. One thing is for sure, D&D will always be about collaboration. And as a side note, we don't need corporations to sell us things to give us that. But working together to tell stories that are unique to your table will always be how D&D functions. Whether you're rolling for initiative or rolling for laughs, there's a place for everyone, and this is ever evolving. Before we wrap up, let's hear from you. What is your favorite era of D&D? Are you a fan of the dungeon crawling classics, or do you prefer today's cinematic campaigns? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. I'd love to hear from you. And if you love watching epic storytelling in action, if you really want to see some collaborative storytelling told in a beautiful and meaningful way, check out Looking for Legends, our new live play campaign. It's packed with incredible characters, intense conflicts, and the plot is just now getting started. Go ahead and click in one of these two places to watch our first episode of Campaign 2. Trust me, you won't want to miss this adventure. That's all I've got for you now, guys. Till next time, gotta roll.